Welcome to the Reinvent You show. I'm George.
I'm Azlan. It's about seeing everyday challenges
Differently.
Welcome to the Reinvent You show. You've got Azlan and George here, your hosts for the show. Yeah, my trip has been to KL, to visit my dad who's got cancer. I came across this one person who was very, very angry. When I was traveling with this person, a lot of the questions that person asked was, why did you do this? How come you didn't do it that way? Why didn't you think of this? What was going through your head? These questions that he asked happened in the span of 4 hours. So 13 times. It was a very angry, sort of tense questions. And I didn't like being around this person. I didn't want to go. I was like, why would I want to spend time with this person? Why would anyone want to spend time with this person? Because they're so angry. And it got me thinking about anger. Is anger a coping mechanism, or is it an identity, or are people choosing it because it's easier than being vulnerable? Like, I don't understand why a person like that would choose anger as a way to live over forgiveness and compassion.
I think you appear angry about her being angry. Is it a her? Or
It's a him.
yeah, you appear to be angry about the anger.
Yeah, for sure, because there is so much discord. Like, it's to me was unnecessary discord. There's so many things to talk about in this planet.
So you said unnecessary.
Yeah.
So there's a sense of anger that why does it have to be this way?
Constantly.
Do you think that's where he was coming from?
Probably. Yeah.
And then they couldn't resolve it and it made them feel too vulnerable. And they don't know that it's not helpful just dumping on others their own helplessness and their own, sense of feeling hopeless, right? It's a horrible bag of emotions, isn't it?
It's not the best bag. Let's put
No,
it that
because
way.
the coping is sabotaging because that person is in so much pain that they're vomiting out what they feel, searching for answers to the very people that probably need the opposite right now. They need consoling and support rather than just someone, getting on their pedestal and saying, this should have been different. Surely it could have been done better. And they're processing their regret that we should have been smarter, we should have been more switched on.
Yeah.
Right? Because why? Because they don't want to lose someone they love. It's that simple. The short answer is that if you walk up to someone like that and you hug them and you say to them, oh my gosh, I feel your pain and how much you care, they would break down. They would just break down completely because they're holding that vulnerability inside them that's barely hanging on, and they're using anger to try to somehow find justice. Because anger, by definition, is an emotion that prepares you for protection, to scare off threats of complacency, threats of ignorance, threats of attacks. It's like cancer attacks. We were complacent. Where was our front foot? Why didn't we do things better as early as possible? I'm angry. I'm angry because I need to wake you all up that we're asleep at the wheel and we're causing loved ones to go prematurely. And it doesn't matter whether it's true or not. It matters that that's how they feel. And they're coming from a good place, even though they make it worse. But I'm telling you, you walk up to that person and you see their fear and you see they're barely holding on and you decide to give them what they're not getting because everyone else is probably shutting down around them and disconnecting because it's not attractive when you're in that blame, toxic energy, interrogative, almost needing someone to be at fault.
Yes, more or less.
Yeah, it's ugly, right? It's ugly.
It's very ugly.
So that person, the very thing they want, they don't even know how to give. You see, when I say to you, walk up to them and hug them, right?
They can't do it to themselves.
They can't do it to themselves. They can't do it to anyone. But who are you? Are you a leader in people being in fear, downward spiraling, taking people down with them, dividing and conquering, dividing? Or are you the leader that draws a line and go, no, this space needs love.
Yeah, I mean, what I did was I didn't.
You punched him in the face.
No, I didn't. I didn't punch
No, I didn't. I didn't.
I thought of it, but I didn't do it. I let this person vent, and it took a toll on me, and I was trying not to resist it, but it got my head really numb because it was so toxic. I don't know why. It was so dark.
I think I know why.
And I can't. I try. I'm like, okay. This person is trying to express this. Let it go. Let it go. Let's just flow with this anger. And I connected with the anger a bit. And then I was like, oh, do I really want? Do I want to be angry? I don't want to be angry. And then I had to do this mental gymnastics, and I was exhausted.
I know, but knowing you, I know why. And of course, you're going to tell me if it resonates. You know how you're really hard on yourself?
Yeah.
He was pushing the rawest of buttons because you could have saved your dad if you were bulletproof, if you were on the front foot, if you were engaged, if you knew what was going on quick enough. He was pushing the very buttons of what you do to yourself by habit. So when you were letting him vent, he was inviting you into the dark place of self-judgment, self-criticism, regret.
Maybe. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you are hard. Did you see? Did you see? Maybe. Do we need to finish this podcast? I just realized I need to be somewhere else. But to be fair to you, you do that. You care so much that you just want to be a superhero for your loved ones, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, I get that bit. Okay, I can agree when that was the topic of the anger. But if the topic of the anger was on my dad itself, how come he didn't do it? How come, like, why did he not be a better father? Or why did he, all these questions that about his relationship with him.
Because he looks up to your dad a lot.
Ooh.
And he feels as if it's that expectation of that pedestal for your dad has been destroyed, because when he saw your dad vulnerable, that was very triggering for him, because he saw your dad as strong. He saw your dad as someone that was rock solid, reliable as a persona. I don't know for sure, but normally that happens. When someone, you've got someone in a box, and then suddenly the box it's falling apart, and now you lose your own security on that.
Yeah.
And then you end up turning on the person. There's like, I had you in an awesome box where you were awesome. What's wrong with you? How could you do this to me?
Yeah, and I was really confused about what I should have done in that state. Like, I
punched him in the face, like,
or hugged him. But like, what do I do? I mean, at that time, my mental gymnastics was running, and I was trying to figure out, okay, how do I navigate this? Like, as a leader, do I agree with this person and just continue with his ramble, or do I nip him in the bud, which I didn't do, or is this a form of self-protection? And at which point is this healthy or self-destructive? I was trying to figure out the balance of where do I chime in here? How can I help this person? Because anger was rife, like freaking rife, like for 5 days.
Yeah. 5 days
5
of
days.
it. Holy shit.
5 days.
That's pretty
non-stop.
bad. That just shows you, that's a counterbalance to how much he looked up to your dad. That's a counterbalance. But it's terrible. That's full on. Look, the cheat sheet for me is understanding. You see, you were confused.
But how far can you understand for 5
Well,
days?
you didn't try.
Oh.
You didn't even try. You just decided he was pain in the ass.
I didn't know what to ask. I didn't know.
Well, the easy thing is to be confused. Okay? Confusion is your friend.
Yeah, exactly. That was what I felt.
Yeah.
I was like, why would
But
this
you didn't
person
validate
choose
your
this?
confusion. You didn't satisfy your confusion. Curiosity was meant to be the weapon for confusion. Why are you so angry? Why are you expecting my dad to have just do everything right?
Or wrong.
Sorry, what?
Or wrong.
Oh, as in you did everything wrong. It seems like there's a lot of layers of feeling vulnerable, threatened, financial insecurity.
Everybody goes through this, I bet. With
Yeah.
cancer.
And, I remember Wayne Dyer said, when you squeeze an orange, what comes out of it? When people are squeezed, what comes out of them?
Blood.
blood. Okay, just don't squeeze people.
Okay,
'cause
yeah,
you must
no.
squeeze them really hard.
Got it. Yeah.
When people are squeezed under, the stress, pressure, you get to see where they're really at. So he was squeezed hard. The threat of
Yeah.
big chunks of finances needing to do needing to be put into something that probably was not going to really make a difference. So that hurts. Then the
family,
fact that you're not even going to
losing.
save your loved one, that hurts
Yeah.
tenfold. It's just
Worrying about my mom, about how she's gonna cope after.
exactly
Like, so many.
right, perfect storm, squeezed,
Yeah.
and that's what you get. You get what is that juice that's coming out of that person? That's where they're at. It's a lot of pain. It's a lot of anger. It's a lot of regret. It's a lot of confusion, disillusionment, a lot of helplessness. It's a cocktail of toxic emotions coming out. And you want to know, right? You want to know, all right, if this juice is coming out, what is going on in that person for them to be the kind of person that would allow, that is having that juice come out of them? Because orange juice takes out orange juice. No one questions it. But we can emit some interesting different juices based on pressure. And we can learn a lot from each other and ourselves when we look at the way we're coping under extreme pressure.
I see what you're saying. And one of the things that got me as well, which I wrote down here, is when I was in the midst of all of this, I said, do people mistake anger for strength or control?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Because I could see this person floundering in the water, trying to get control of the finances, of the situation with my mom, what's going to happen here, what's going to happen there, the supplements and blah, 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 blah. Everything was just eat the supplements and stop doing this. It's this form of, and I felt like, okay, because anger to me is better than helplessness.
Yeah, anger at least has a direction.
Yeah, like do this, but maybe too forceful in the tone. But it's better than being, oh, my life sucks, everything's going to hell. And
Yeah,
there's some
as
form
in
of
you
control.
collapse and you don't want to do nothing at all. But you know what? Everything has context. For example, when you're depressed and you're unmotivated, there's an instinct in you telling you, just stop.
Right.
Absorb, pay attention, take it all in, because you haven't been. Just stop, right? No more energy for you, no more motivation for any assumption of why you should be, any emotion, for any action. Just stop. None of it is delivering. So you power right down to flat, right?
The listener or the person who's angry?
No, any person who's going through that state.
Right.
Any person, right? So you get depressed. And now, rock bottom is like you can't even get out of bed. Why? Because the body says, no, you're not allowed. You're not allowed. You have to go through the cocoon of understanding who the hell you need to be different, because everything you tried to do didn't work, didn't deliver, right? So stop. Just stop. That's real for us. You see, depression shouldn't be demonized. Depression only gets bad when we get stuck in it indefinitely and don't know how to go through a transition into how to be different. And then we end up needing drugs just to get us to cope with life because we can't even do the basics. You know what I mean? That becomes clinical depression. But before you get to clinical, we do get depressed, don't we? Like things go bad and we feel depressed. We feel unmotivated. We're supposed to understand the purity of that stage to completely go still and just go. And that's where, your humility to go, you know what? Everything I'm assuming is not delivering.
Yeah.
So I need to observe, why do I have blind spots? Why can't I see a way to make me better?
I love that because I was talking to my wife last night about vulnerability and humility. I know a lot of people who are Buddhists, Christians, Muslims, in Sufi and listening to things like New Age. But there's one difference in all of them. those who are able to move past anger and hatred and resentment versus one who reads the material but doesn't absorb. The pattern is that the one who moves past is the one that's humble and vulnerable and able to be vulnerable. Whereas the ones that are angry, they can't be vulnerable, they never absorb the material. So I feel like humility has a lot to do when we're talking about anger, right? I think it's one of the key things that we need to move past it, to go, you know what, I don't have the answers. I don't know how to solve this. I can't control this. You know, what are my assumptions here? Am I choosing the wrong assumptions to make me feel angry? Like, all of those key questions can only come if a person is willing to be vulnerable. Because if a person is like, no, I'm a man, you listen to what I say, I have the answers, you can never change. And I noticed this. Me and my wife, we sat down with like 8 people. The ones that can move past and are easy to deal with, and they are constantly learning, are the ones who are willing to go for therapy. Not willing to go for therapy, but willing to.
Don't go too far.
Yeah, this is not a promotion for therapy, but it's someone who, like I said,
but we're open to sponsors, right?
Yeah. I really think that, like, I really believe now that people who are able to be vulnerable, that is the key to self-compassion and forgiveness and moving past anger. That's just such a key thing, And it's funny, people at work, I won an award yesterday. And
did you?
Yeah, I did.
Silver lining to this conversation. Good for us.
And one of the person said, you deserve the award because you're such a people pleaser. And
that was a bit triggering.
Yeah.
The people pleaser award goes to Azlan.
Yeah,
He'll do anything for anyone.
And it's very interesting because when he said that, I went, being vulnerable and being humble and being able to adapt to situations is seen as a weakness as opposed to a strength. Like, for me, whenever I go into a new project, I can solve the rifts between people.
Yeah, I think that person made a comment because they got layers of stuff.
But that person is very angry all the time.
Yeah.
And then I realized, there's a pattern.
Yeah, that makes sense, because he looked at you and he can't do what you do and he doesn't know how to get there. So he has to focus on the weakness of you. And the weakness of you is what you do. Doing it in excess is the reason why he's angry, because he got used up. So he has to believe you're failing because you're a people pleaser and eventually you're going to crash. He holds on to that.
Yeah,
I know I might be reading too much into it, but there is a kind of like a snide, backhanded stigma to that praise. Oh, good for you! You're such a people pleaser. That's loaded with baggage.
Projecting.
Yeah.
No, I thought about that as well. So then I thought, well, one day wouldn't it be great if they went, you know what, that person is so vulnerable, so humble. He's the true leader, as opposed to, that person is weak. He's gonna please everybody. He can't make his own decisions, because that's what's being projected now onto me. Azlan, with leadership roles, just be careful because he's gonna bend his ass and people, and he's gonna make everyone happy and not be able to make tough calls. But my life has shown that I've been making tough calls my whole life.
Yeah, exactly. Aslan, it is a balancing act, and I think you're probably more balanced than most people I know when it comes to problem solving. Because you're a creative problem solver, you often can create more win-wins than having to be tough because you can't think of a way to help win-wins happen more often. You see, it's a lever. The more creative you are, the more you find a way to sacrifice less, compromise less, and create an abundant outcome of win-win.
I love that. I learned a lot from you with regards to sustainable value exchange.
Winning!
No, I now tell people what my needs are to make it a win-win. And I'm using that now a lot.
I love that. That's so good, Azlan.
Thanks to you, man.
I'm so excited for you because you're good at communicating, negotiating. And as soon as your heart was given the awareness of, hey, come on, push for the win-win.
Yeah.
Break people out of their paradigms that trap them into win-lose. Your leadership just went to another level.
I think I'm learning. I'm definitely learning how to not accept a win-lose because it sucks for everyone. And the universe is not designed that way. You're not meant to win-lose. You're meant to win-win.
Well, that's the only way if you're going to create sustainability. Because every species in nature, if it doesn't find a balance to protect itself and to grow, it goes extinct. Every organism is constantly trying to find that sweet spot, and the sweet spot is a moving target, because nature doesn't just stop.
Yeah,
it
so
evolves.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's the next idea to give me an edge? What's the next idea to give me an edge to protect myself better, to find more food more easily, all that sort of stuff. It doesn't stop, right? Except that we as humans can accelerate evolution, hence civilization, technologies and all that. So it becomes, we're evolving on steroids, right? And so therefore it's even more important that we don't be still.
Yeah.
But how much of a Shakespearean tragedy it is that the first impressionable years of our life, we are being told that we're static beings and that we're flawed and that we just got to hope and have coping to somehow get through life with carving out enough of shelter, enough of food, enough of a lifestyle, enough of a status to be deemed successful. But the static identity kills our power. It kills it because we're defending before understanding. The humility is gone. The curiosity is gone. And we're just constantly reacting, trying to tell people that we're good enough already based on the value we're delivering and how we're delivering it. What is that? That is a recipe for failure, epic failure. And so you say you're learning, but what's more important is you never stop learning except for the blind spots that were preventing you from learning in an area of your life that was so precious to you, so precious to us, which is, I want to be better for me and others. I want to be better. I want to be, And as soon as the sustainable value exchange got understood, you went, what's going on? Why is humanity struggling with something so important? And I always knew that you would then turn your skills for a higher purpose in that way. You see, you didn't pick up on this, but I think the audience listening would. Before, you were talking about the way you were observing your mum and your brother. You were talking with such purity, confidence, eloquence. It was actually really nice. And I think that is a real part of who you're becoming, Like, when you say, oh, what should I do? Like podcasting is fun. I want to be funny. I do think you're going to merge your humor, your lightheartedness with your tech skills and your passion for purpose and higher purpose. I do see that. It's organically going to just keep percolating, fermenting in that direction without you needing to force it at all.
I love how you said that, because I had a lot of time to think when I was on the plane. I chose Asia, so I didn't have any Wi-Fi, so I was up the whole time, 5 hours, 5.5 hours. I was in the train for 4 hours, and I looked at, if I had a magic wand, what would the perfect Azlan be? I'm not trying to be a perfectionist, but how would I like myself to be? And humor was in there, and I spent all that time finding a better feeling thought to a point where I felt great. So I learned something about sticking a smiley face on an empty tank. That doesn't work. You have to acknowledge that the tank is empty, because I was spent, man. I was like, it took everything out of me. My dad's uncertainty, the finances, the family dynamics, and then my grandmother's dementia as well. So she was asking me 15 times, like, when are you going home? When are you going home? When are you going home? The same questions. It was so taxing to my brain that I was literally empty. So I didn't do an affirmation. My tank is empty.
You validated that.
Yeah.
You just let yourself be.
Yeah, because last time I would just stuck a smiley face there and gone,
shut up. Don't be empty.
I'm rich. And then I imagined myself in this state, and then it didn't connect. The feeling wasn't there. So for me, validating it and then slowly bringing myself up to a point where I was on ecstasy at 2.5 hours in. I managed.
You weren't empty.
I wasn't empty. But what changed was I looked at the Magic Wand version, and on the way up to the Magic Wand version, I started pivoting my focus onto what was working. I acknowledged, I acknowledged that I could not, like my father's cancer, I can't control that. The finance, I can't, that's not working. So I said, okay, what's working, Azlan? Understand all of this stuff is bigger than me. I leave it to you. This is not working. That's not working. Okay, you know what? Maybe this is working. I have a family who's healthy at home. I have a son who's always happy, is connected to God every time. And it started like that. But it took me a while to get that gauge up. And then to a point where I went, I'm humorous. I have my own in YouTube. I'm doing jokes every day. But it took so long to get me from there to there. And I'm so glad that at the end, humor was a part of it. But it's so, like you said, I'm becoming this person. And I told my wife, I'm so glad that I'm home, because I want to go home in me. I want to go out for walks again, because when I saw my dad, he's walking, he's a lot better than I thought he was going to be. And now I can go back to the gym, and I can go back to my walks. But even then, I'm trying to figure out how, if things go downhill, how can I stay balanced?
Yeah, that's really interesting.
It's a lot of people.
It's an adventure in that to learn about why you choose to do what you do based on what's going on outside of you. Like, what is the meaning being created that makes you not take care of yourself to the level that you want to?
I want people to see that, okay, Azlan's got issues, but he's working through it, and he doesn't need to be sad all the time. And kudos to him. He's trying to organize his mind in a way that makes him happy and to focus on things that is working. But then people think, are you suppressing it? And it really depends on the person's maturity, emotional maturity,
I think when you're talking to people and you're expressing how you feel about it, they'll know you're not suppressing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But also the fact that you slip back into an emotional state for a purpose of whatever you're doing, as in role as a father, role as for work, your family. I think that people would observe that, and I reckon they would admire that, I think, in most times, because they go, how does he do it? How does he have that balance between confronting the dark side of life and the struggle, and validating himself in that he doesn't have all the answers, but he's working through it, and yet he snaps into this flow of being amazing for other parts of his life because they are his responsibility. Like, I think that's a beautiful thing, to be able to do both, switch.
I'm learning, and I think I'm getting better at it. It's been 3 days now after I came home, right? Every day at 7 o'clock, I sit down and look at all the things look at what's not working, and just whatever I'm feeling, that's not working. This is not working. I don't feel like I'm a successful podcaster yet. And all that stuff, I address that first, and then I go, okay, that aside, I've done some great things in my life. This house is great. And feeling it, connecting the feeling, and then suddenly I'm in a good place, and then bam, I get an award. Bam, I get this. I wanted to ask you about people who come to you with
anger,
with a lot of, what's the go-to? I know there's no silver bullet, because every person's circumstance is different. But at what balance is anger healthy versus self-destructive? That's the balance that
when it's controlled.
What does that mean? Is anger ever controlled?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Do you want to know what it looks like?
No, don't scold me. Are you going to be angry at me?
Azlan, that really makes me angry. I'm really angry now because it didn't have to be that way. I wished I could have somehow tuned in and saw what was coming and made better decisions. I'm actually really angry with myself. I'm processing that right now. That's controlled anger. You're allowed to say you're angry. You're allowed to feel angry. You're allowed to express why you're angry.
Yes.
Right? But anger goes out of control. You suppress it. And it builds into, because you're invalidating yourself. Now you're angry about the fact that you didn't have a voice. No one understood you. You let fear keep you suppressed with where you're really at and your disappointments and your regrets. And eventually you have enough, and then you explode because it was overdue to express yourself. but you do it in an uncontrolled way, which makes things worse.
That's when the blow-ups happen, right? Like, you're not listening to me.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what I need.
Because before that, it was like, based on what you're saying, I don't feel understood yet. I don't feel you're listening to me. And look, I am angry, but I really do believe we can work through this. You see? That's a pressure valve where the starts to build a bit of intensity, and you let the person know and you work through it. But no, you hold on.
It's not just about they, it's also about how you treat yourself, you know?
I think so, yeah. Big time.
I like that. I really like that. Admitting that there is anger in me, validating that, okay, it is there, and then working through it. And then I noticed that with any emotion, give it time and awareness, it will dissipate. It has to, because our natural state is that of well-being.
Anger is just another tool in the emotional toolbox to help us navigate what we think is going on in our life, how we should feel about it, and then what causes us to change how we feel about it. So we reach for the next emotion in the toolbox. Your emotions are a critical part of being human, having a human experience. Take emotions out, what are you?
Yeah.
You don't have experiential expression anymore.
Yeah.
It's just purely, mental, where you're kind of here, but you don't have a body to help you feel. That wouldn't make sense, would it? Right? What, you're going to feel hot and cold? That's it? No emotions? So, emotions are really, really important. And I have not found one emotion that doesn't have a genuine value and purpose. So how people say, negative emotions.
Yeah.
There is not one negative emotion that doesn't have a really important role to play. So choose an emotion you never want to feel again.
For me, guilt is a big thing.
Oh, so you want to be a psychopath. Feel no guilt whatsoever. Have no barometer on whether some of your actions don't represent your core values. I think we need guilt. It's a self-regulating emotion.
Oh, I like that. I like what you did
for
there.
your conscience. Any other emotion you like to?
Helplessness?
You need to feel that emotion because when you are attached to the set of ideas that don't deliver and they continue not to deliver and you stay stubborn.
Ooh.
You stay stubborn to them. You deserve to feel an emotion that rattles you, that makes you not want to stay in that state. Mm-hmm. Helplessness is an emotion that says, yeah. Talk about unsustainability. You better start looking closer at yourself and more differently. So the most uncomfortable emotions like helplessness, because, I hate that feeling, right? Yeah, that is almost like an internal shake-up of going, for someone who's so powerful, it turns out that you got no power. Nothing can help you. Sorry, not one idea on the planet. That's just deception. So the emotion is a wake-up call to go, you're helpless right now. You better look closely at what you're doing and how you're doing it.
Fair. I like the idea that you've made that perception of emotion being a regulating tool. It's really good. I've never had that perception before.
Every emotion
has value.
We learn from children because you know how children feel their emotions, but they just completely move through them.
Yeah.
I always point to, they're crying about something. They're upset.
Yeah. You show them a toy and they're like, ooh.
Yeah. All of a sudden they have an ice cream and the tears haven't dried yet on their face and they're licking the ice cream. They're in total joy.
I had the opportunity yesterday to allow my son to cry. And it was funny. He was crying. He was going to cry. And then I said, it's okay to cry. Daddy cries too sometimes. And then he hugged me and he started crying.
Oh,
and I was like, wow, that's
powerful.
That was powerful for me. I was like, it is a powerful emotion. Because at school, they're told not to cry. I mean, he says, I can't cry because people will tease me. And I said, not at home. You can cry here. I cry too sometimes, And then he hugged me and then he cried. And I was like, I think I've done a good job today.
I think you did.
You know?
That's so powerful, man.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, school systems and parents that are really hard on their children not to be weak means that children tease sensitive children.
Yeah.
Children become bullies to sensitive children that express their emotion.
Because of how they've been raised.
They're shamed. They're ostracized. Even happened to my daughter when she was younger, and it did damage. She had to work through, and is probably still working through, certainly is. You know?
Oh, and that's my biggest fear, really, for him. But it's okay. I mean, I can control what I can control at home.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we talk a lot about emotions.
But you can see how we pass down our stuff, you know? Like where we think we're doing our children a favor by making them tough. It's like, well, tough is good if it's half the story. Because inner toughness is a softness to understand.
Yeah.
A softness
I like
to
that.
have empathy and relate and know how to leverage connection. That's tough, you know, not crumbling, suppressing, exploding. What's tough about that? That's dumb. So, you know, we use the word tough, but it lacks the dimension of nuance for purpose, for context. If you want your children to be tough, they need to be tough on the inside by being calm in the emotional chaos of other people.
And that is a very, very tough thing to do. I'm learning still, learning how to do
we
that.
all are.
You know, it's like a stream. When the anger is so strong, you go in. Like you're dipping your finger in it. You cannot feel
Spot on.
affected by it. But
I'd like to add a disclaimer. If my daughter and wife were listening to me talk right now, they go, "Gosh, George, you really know how to say all the right things. It's a shame you don't live
Don't practice
all the time."
and that's we know that it's impossible. I mean, but having that awareness and that knowledge behind helps us to regulate. I wrote another question here on the train, but I don't think it matters anymore after I've discussed a lot of things. But essentially, I thought the next logical step for anger is forgiveness. And I now, from what we're saying, is there's so many emotions that you can, you know, for some people, yes, it might be the next logical step to dial it down, forgiveness. Others, it could be, you know, letting go, you know, surrendering. There's so many paths to...
I like forgiveness. Look, if you understand why someone's angry, isn't it natural to forgive them?
No, for themselves. Like one person says, I'm not
same.
ready to forgive that person. Then what do you say? Do you go...
No, but that's their journey. If they don't know how to arrive to the perspective and the wisdom of why forgiveness has an empowering role to be released from, you know, tension, disconnection, and toxic disease eventually, right? Then yeah, we'll play a role to help them hopefully get there. But if they're stubborn with their free will and they anchor down and love their lack of forgiving, you know, state of mind too much, then they're gonna downward spiral, because it's like they're hooked into things that are not in their control, and they're trying to hold on to this sense of where's the justice. I need my enemies to stay my enemies for me to feel the victimhood of being hard done by. That makes me feel righteous, that I deserve better. It's a bit of a drug to feel that, you know, to feel righteous. You've been hard done by. People should have done better for you, and then it's a safe place because you don't have to do anything. You just have to go, while you're my enemy, I can live with myself because you did wrong things and all my problems are because of you. I don't have to do anything now. It's a horrible self-deception out of your own power, right? But if you really look closely, forgiveness is the key to you were angry, you were wrong, coping badly, making things worse. And you know what? I don't judge you. I love you. Welcome to the club of being human. Come here. I'm going to give you a hug.
It is the most trickiest thing, because when I thought in high school, I remember I thought forgiveness. I had a weird idea of forgiveness. It was from a righteous place. I forgive you. I'm the boss. You are my slave. I forgive you. That kind of thing. And then as you grow older, you realize forgiveness is not that at all. It comes from a pure, letting go of weights sort of place, as opposed to holding on to those weights and saying, I have the authority, I'm forgiving you, but still holding on to the toxicity or the heaviness, of the weight. And it's so tricky for people to say, I forgive you. My mom does it a lot. She says, my father's brother did him dirty, and taking, in terms of not paying back money and stuff. And my mother always says, I forgive him, but never ever since that time, 25 years ago, has ever seen him. That's not forgiveness, man. And then when that person's name comes up, it's anger again. The weight is still there. But I forgive him.
Well, she forgives him because she was taught that it's a noble thing to forgive. It's the Christian thing. But if you don't calibrate the depth of why you're forgiving him so you can really embody that action, then you're just slapping the label out of duty on how you should be, which means you're invalidating yourself, your own feelings of hurt, and then that hurt stays for decades.
And it eventually evolves to cancer.
Well, yeah, like you started the conversation with what causes cancer, and that's why I'm always skeptical about people saying, why haven't they found a cancer cure? Well, it's because your body is an ecosystem, and it has a delicate chemistry of balance that it needs to maintain for it to function, to detox in a timely way while absorbing nutrients and repairing, and right? And if you start to stuff up that balance to an extreme by malnutrition, not enough movement, not enough detoxing support with the right foods, and right, and sweating and all this sort of stuff, if you start to tamper with the equilibrium, eventually you're going to push your body beyond the point of its ability to return. And when your cells are being neglected and you keep telling them you're in an ugly world, you remember in step 1, EP7, and they have to always prioritize protection over growth, which means they can't be open to nutrients while they think a psychopath with an axe is chasing you down the street.
Yeah.
So that's a metaphor of us being highly stressed all the time. It's like, not now, not now, not now. Cells, tense up, shut down, protect. It's like, for goodness sake, where are you? Because we're damn hungry. like this guy's been for years in some bullshit jungle with predators everywhere. Like, does this guy not realize we won't be around that long if he doesn't take us to a place where we can chill the fuck out and eat, And so eventually they go, okay, I think we have a really bad leader, because whatever they're doing, they don't know how to take us to a place where we can repair and restore for sustainability. I don't think our leader has a sustainability policy.
Yeah. Our leader's messed up.
Yeah. And so therefore the cells go, do I just sacrifice for the community, or do I just go, you know what, my leader's tapped out, he's going to walk us off a cliff anyway, so I'm going to now just stop listening to the leader. As soon as those cells go rogue and they stop listening, and then they start creating their own community, there you have the tumors. And by the way, I've heard this. A tumor is really when those cells go rogue, quickly other cells block and try to sequester those cells into a confined place. So a tumor is really keeping the cancerous cells inside, away from the rest of the body. So sometimes, but if it keeps growing and the tumor keeps growing, trying to keep it, and you go in and you release like biopsies there's a danger that you're drawing cancer cells out and then putting them back into the body for them to start elsewhere outside of where it's being localized
Right.
with the wall of the tumor. So I've heard this, and I'm no medical expert, but I always find it interesting that nature always has a counterbalance to anything that's going on. It's like a patch-up job. I have to do the best I can with what I got, Right now we got rogue. Okay, guys, partition the rogue elements, that kind of thing. I think we have to look at our bodies more holistically, understand it's an inner ecosystem. When you look at nature outside of you, there are laws of nature of what keeps equilibrium and balance, and therefore we need to look at that inner world within us with the same lens so we can learn a lot, the fractals, right? And so we got to stop treating cancer like there's silver bullet pills and magic remedies. Now, don't get me wrong. Is there a suite of things we can do to edify the body so it has what it needs to get back to the point of return? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Yes. There is. And we have story after story of cancer remission. But we know those that went beyond 5 years of cancer remission, 5 years, staying in remission. I wish we could interview them because I suspect they did more than just nutrition and get the body back.
Yeah.
They made attitude shifts.
Yes, I agree with that completely.
Where they rose the bar on tolerating toxic living, toxic relationships with food, with in air, with people, right? They decided that they deserved better than living in a threatening jungle, and they broke through the attitude and insisted on boundaries not to be sucked into that world.
You know how we talked about how being vulnerable and being humble is key to growth? What is the role of empathy and perspective in allowing the person who is angry to go from the anger to forgiveness? Like what a lot of the people who are angry, I noticed, they have no empathy. There was no understanding of maybe...
Yeah, no, that state is not for empathy. That state is just for
blame.
Protection. It's for protection. So so what's happening is that you are freezing people in the emotional state they are stuck in. They don't belong there. They're just stuck there. And who do you want to be for them when they're stuck there? Do you want to be a victim of where they're stuck? Or do you want to be a leader to facilitate them out of that stuckness?
If there's a workshop on how to do that, I'm all in for it. Because honestly, it's so hard because you're listening and you're going, oh shit, what do I say now? And it's like mental gymnastics. Like you don't want to invalidate that person's anger, but at the same time you don't want to promote it. And at the same time you want to help them out of it or guide them out of it. And it's a skill that I don't have yet. And I know I've said the wrong thing when the person says, stop trying to change my opinion. It's already tattooed on my skin.
Oh, what? Really? They say that? That really? It's tattooed on my skin.
Then I went, shit. I was trying to come across as empathy to see maybe a different side to the situation. You know?
And they're doubling down and saying, sorry, my opinion is tattooed on my skin. Nothing's going to change it.
Correct.
Okay. What that tells you is that person made their views their identity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that means they're in deep trouble. And that means they will sink you with them if you let them.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So then your job is to have the clarity of how they are undermining themselves and sabotaging themselves and facilitate them into that awareness with love, not judgment.
And that's the question mark.
That's the hard part.
What that means.
It's a hard part. Oh, sorry, you don't know what that means?
I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
Facilitate them into. I mean, it's a whole
okay.
topic.
So you say to them. So what you're saying is opinions are based on assumptions, and you're saying that assumptions are tattooed, never ever to be challenged for the rest of your life. Is this what you're selling me? That seems like a lot of Kool-Aid to me.
I might get punched in the face.
Yeah, and no, don't punch me in the face because I care about you, and I know that my opinions should be challenged, and that I want you to challenge me wherever you see that I might not be joining the dots to a truth, to a fact, so that I can make better decisions. And for you to shut down like that and decide that some of your opinions are sacred truths never to be challenged means you're deluding yourself. Don't do that. Don't ever tattoo an opinion on yourself, you know, because they don't need to be tattooed. Truths hold their own. And if we ever get into a situation where a truth is not a truth in a context, you'll be the last one to know because you're so stubborn and you're trying to force a fix on something regardless of whether it's working or not. Please leave room for humility and curiosity that maybe at any stage, anything we thought was truth might be more nuanced with an exception to a rule in a context, something we can learn. If you rob yourself of that, your dynamic nature and your adaptive nature in this way, then it's very, very clear. Look at where your pain is. Look at where you're stuck. Look at why things don't change, because that's exactly the outcome that's caused by being stubborn to assumptions tattooed on your skin.
I have a lot of opportunity to speak to this person soon.
Yeah, but the thing is, I got on my soapbox just then and I vented, right?
Yeah.
But I would deliver it based on who I'm with, how vulnerable they are, insecure they are. I would be tactful to reach them. But if I was talking to you, I know that we've got a lot of trust and respect between us. So I'd be this blunt with you.
Yeah.
Because you get away with it.
Yeah.
Because I give a shit about you and I actually don't really judge you. You know what I mean? You're allowed. You're allowed to do whatever you want whenever you want. You know?
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a hard time when you're holding on to stuff that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Because I know I care for you and I just want you to know that I'm seeing things that maybe you're not. You know, that's all.
Yeah.
And I'm willing for you to challenge me, because if I got it wrong, I got it wrong. I'm going to find out through our discussion.
Yeah.
You know, but don't tell me you got a freaking tattoo of an assumption that you're going to be blindly loyal to, and that you're going to shut down any new information that just might expose it as not belonging.
You know, it's funny when I challenged this person, I saw a video of a kitten who's been adopted, right? And there was a mother cat, and it's trying to calm it down, and the cat would slowly go into this box, and this kitten would slap it, like in anger, and then the cat would like, ooh, and then the mom instinctively just steps out a bit and tries to go back in, does this about 3 to 4 times, and then finally just sits and just looks in front, not even addressing the kitten, and then eventually the kitten lays down next to her after like 15 minutes or so, and then calms down. But for me, when it gets really scary to deal with an angry person, is that person's going to lash out. Because if I said that to that person's going, you don't fucking understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, it's very true.
And you go, whoa, you know, like, how do I navigate this, you know, because, and that, I always think of that cat, you know, when that person, you know, lashes out at me, it is like, because that's their identity. You're questioning their identity, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
And then it becomes so...
There's momentum there with anger, you know, and you have to feel into it and see how attached and invested they are in their views, because then you got to play the longer game of de-escalating.
Yeah.
And validation is the first point of slow but timely de-escalation. You see, when you say to them, I get why you're angry. Are you angry because of this? Are you angry because of that? And they go, yeah. And then suddenly they go, oh my gosh, you get me. And then suddenly you've aligned. You've gone in Trojan horse. But no, it's genuine. It's authentic. It's a good Trojan.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah. You have to be mindful that if someone has been pushed that far, you got to know how to de-escalate it. And validation is the key. And play a intuitive game. You got to play an intuitive game of respecting how bound up they are, and to thaw them out with care, validation, empathy, patience.
I like that. I think the validation bit is what's missing in this person's life.
Yeah.
Nobody validates his
how they
anger.
feel. Like they're angry.
Correct. Correct.
Who's caring for why they're so
there's-
angry?
There's one person saying, just accept everything. Just acceptance. Just accept.
That's invalidation.
Bang. And then for me, I'm trying to offer different perspectives, not validating.
Invalidating as well.
It's also invalidating because have you seen it this way? So it's basically when I say that, have you seen it in this way? And then he's like, it's almost telling him that the emotion he's feeling is it's invalidating.
I know.
So
But you
it's
know
very
what?
interesting. I like that.
And we've talked about this a lot before. As a leader, you have to outgrow right and wrong and make connection more important. If you decide that person deserves a connection, deserves to be understood.
Ooh, very good advice.
Yeah,
Connection.
right. If that person deserves to know that I care about them, even if they're wrong, that is powerful. If I'm wrong about something, do I want to be persecuted and ridiculed and ostracized and abandoned? Is that what I want? Or do I want people to hold space for me to go, George, what's going on for you? Why are you believing that? Tell me more. And then I'm talking that out and they go, but how do you explain this? And how do you explain that? And they'll go, oh. And they help me because they created a safe space. They help me resolve how I was bound up. Oh my gosh, do you know the loyalty and love and respect I would have for that person? Because they did not judge me while I was wrong. They leaned in to find out why I was believing and thinking the way I was. And their own assumptions that maybe I'm wrong, they just parked it long enough to care for me and how I'm seeing things the way I'm seeing. Who doesn't want that?
Yeah.
Yet we're not giving it to each other. Look, what happens when we understand? We understand that things don't add up. So hang on a minute. You're feeling like this for these reasons. I get that. I get how that could make you angry. But I don't want you to stay angry.
Yeah, yeah.
And so can I ask you some questions? Yeah. Because you earned the trust. You earned the respect.
Right.
They felt your love. They felt your non-judgment.
Right.
They know you're on their side. You care about them even if they might be wrong.
Right.
Right. And by the way, sometimes they're right.
Yeah.
And you find out. And it's beautiful. Right? So then, can I ask you some questions? Because I just don't want you to stay angry. And I just know it's just not fun when we're stuck feeling something we don't want to feel. Yeah. And they go, yeah, what? You go, do you think that that person was in their right mind when they made certain decisions? Or do you think that they were compromised and they were seeing things the wrong way and they made mistakes and now they're copping the consequences?
Yeah, I'll come up with a bunch of questions.
But like you're
depends on the
getting,
situation,
so what
yeah.
you're doing is you're saying, do you now think you can look at that person's situation and try to understand their perspective? Because you know what you just did? You did that for them. It's like a pay it forward energy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you actually gave them the full experience of value of someone not judging and leaning in and walking in the shoes of that person to really get what's going on for them. And then when you do that for that person and they are the full beneficiary of the power of being gifted that value, they're ready instinctively and from the heart to let that energy flow in for someone else.
Yep.
And you're helping them finish the job. You know what I mean? So you'd be surprised how easy, instinctive, organic that is after you've done the hard part of slowing down, holding space, validating, understanding deeply, you know?
I think that was a great wrap up as to what we've been talking about with anger and all that. So thank you so much, Josh, for your insights. And for those of you who are watching, if you feel like this resonated with you or if you feel like this can help anyone, just feel free to forward it and feel free to pop in any questions in the comments. But I hope that was useful, and I guess that's a ciao for now.
Yeah, ciao for now. Thank you for joining the Reinvent You show.
And remember, don't take yourself or life too seriously.